Rhetorical Quest.
Hi, I'm Benjamin Klein. I'm professor of speech and communication at Western New Mexico University, and at least for one more semester, chair of the Department of Humanities. And this video is to introduce you to some of the things that we'll be doing in our communication and thought class in the spring of 2025. So let's get started right away talking about our textbook, The Rhetoric of Western Thought. This book is in its 11th edition. I've been using it, oh my goodness, like going back to like the third or fourth edition as an undergrad. This is a great book. It's absolutely wonderful. It's not super easy reading, so you need to be prepared to be reading as if this was a 300 level college class. But it is absolutely wonderful for the kind of information it gives and the things that it'll tell you. It is an absolutely great book, and as you take this course, you will read every chapter of this book. So, what are the objectives for this course? Well, the state of New Mexico, when I put in the communication minor, approved 6 objectives for this course. The first is to gain an appreciation for the communication perspective. The communication perspective is really different than other perspectives that you might have in your major or something like that. Seeing the world as a construction of communication is going to help you a lot. Becoming familiar with the major historical communication philosophers, becoming familiar with the major historical communication epochs and their forces, becoming familiar with major communication theories, understanding one communication theory in depth. So that's what your big paper is going to be, and apply it and understand the means by which communication theory is applied to communication phenomena. In order to get all of the policies for this course, you really need to go to the Canvas page for the course. That'll tell you everything about it. But I do want to hit just a few highlights of what some of our policies are going to be. Okay, so here's the first one that I really want to emphasize, and that's the policy on late or missed work. Assignments are due when Canvas says they're due. If for some reason you can't get an assignment turned in by the due date because maybe you have to go to a medical appointment, maybe you have to travel because you're part of an athletic team at WNMU or our mariachi, or maybe you're part of our student government and are going to Grant County Days up in Santa Fe, and you're just not going to be very around on those days. Well, if that's the case, you need to turn the stuff in early. That's in your student handbook. That's university policy. That's what you have to do. Now, beyond this, I'm not talking about times when you get sick. When you really get sick, you have a really sudden, intense illness. Now, for most of our illnesses, we can still upload a paper. You have to be pretty sick to not be able to upload a paper. But sometimes, like, people die. People have babies, people get pregnant and then they have babies, and sometimes that happens when an assignment's due, and that wasn't your plan, but that's what's going to happen. But here's the deal: when that happens, you can't just tell me and have me accommodate you. You actually have to get accommodations through our disability services. Now, all the phone numbers and stuff like that are on Canvas. You should be able to contact them. I can't accommodate things. I mean, I can, but I'm not supposed to accommodate things where there isn't some kind of accommodation through disability services. And you might say, well, I'm not disabled. It was just COVID. That's not a disability. And it is just for a few weeks, few days, hopefully. But that's the thing. I've got to have some kind of accommodation through them to accommodate things. If it's not an emergency, you get it in early. Now, here is one adjustment I have. Is a lot of times students will call me and say, can I get an accommodation? Or they'll send me an email. Can I get a little bit of extra time just for no reason other than I need extra time? And I'm going to say this right now. If you don't have a 0 there, you have extra time, because until I've graded it, I'm not going to worry about is it late or not. That's the truth. If I'm behind, you can be a little bit behind. Once there's that 0 there, though, what I'm going to say, especially for this online class, is still turn something in. I may not grade it at all until after the semester has ended and I need to turn in final grades, but I'll probably give you some points for getting something in. And, 30% when you're figuring out averages is way, 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 way better than a 0. A 30% in all A's is probably going to be a passing grade. 30% and a 0 in all A's is probably not going to allow you to pass anything on any of our major assignments. So, yeah, I also want everybody to know that there is an expectation of scholarly writing. In the interpersonal class that some of you just finished, I didn't really require scholarly writing for a lot of the stuff. I wanted it in that final term paper, and I think some people were surprised by that and didn't like their grade when they used, colloquial English. They started to talk like we talk. They wrote like we talk. That's not appropriate. You need to use the 6th or 7th edition of APA. And APA, yes, use it for your citations, but it tells you everything. When you should use particular words, when you should use commas, when you should use semicolons in your sentences. It gives you all of that. And so make sure that all of your papers are scholarly writing. So the one thing I'd want to really emphasize is that cheating is bad. There's really no moral difference between somebody who would cheat on a assignment, or somebody who would cheat on their spouse, or somebody who would cheat at an athletic event. Anytime that you would do that, you're the same kind of person. So before you cheat, I want you to really think about, is this the kind of person I want to become? Because if you start to cheat in one area, you're definitely going to start cheating in another. So then, what does it mean to cheat? Well, cheating is where you kind of claim that you are following certain rules and expectations that you're not actually following, right? So when you decide to sleep with somebody besides your partner, and you and your partner have agreed that you're only going to sleep with each other, at that point you are cheating. That's cheating. If you say you're playing American football and you have the ball thrown to you, you grab the ball and run to the other side. Well, that's how the game is supposed to be played. But say you're playing European football, you're playing soccer, and you grab the ball and start to run to the other side. Well, uh, if you get if you do that, you're cheating. I mean, you're probably not going to be allowed to even do that. But if you were somehow to get away with that, you would be cheating, right? Because that goes against the rules of the game. So you kind of do have to understand what the rules of the game are before you know if you're cheating or not. And so one of the things that people have started to do is use AI. And AI is a really neat tool. I use it for a few things. And I think it's fine to use for a few things and not fine to use for other things. So for my class, I don't really mind if you use AI to proofread, to suggest small grammar edits, to help with your spelling, to say, okay, is this academic language? So you've written the paper and you want AI to help you turn it into academic language. I'm okay with that. I'm not okay with AI writing your paper for you. And so here's the thing, you switch it into academic language, sometimes it might start to look like it is AI. So I just want you to be really clear with me, okay? If you used AI to clean up your grammar, that's fine. If you used AI to help you with rhetorical tone, I think that's fine. To clear up contradictions, do I contradict myself at any time in this paper? That's fine. And honestly, the only thing I use AI for, as far as my like writing goes, is I use it to clean up my reference pages. I think I have it in perfect APA or MLA or Chicago or whatever the publisher wants, and uh, but I just go ahead and run my reference page through AI and say, can you just double check my APA here? I just want to make sure it's okay. And I don't see that as cheating at all. I've talked to my editors and they're like, no, I mean, it would be cheating if you had AI write the paper. I'm not really worried about AI actually writing your stuff for this class. And the reason for that is AI can't write at a 300 level right now. It just can't. AI could really do great in most 1 and 200 level classes. But for our class here, I'm not really worried. It just can't write at that level. It just doesn't think that way. It's not good enough. And so I'm not really super worried about that. Uh, but I don't want you to do it because that would be cheating. The last big thing that I want to talk about as far as our policy goes, and then I'm going to get into the assignments, is Title IX and accessibility. So Title IX and our accessibility services exist to prevent people from being discriminated against, right? That's why we have them. And so Title IX, there are some things that you should know. Uh, First of all, I got to jump on any kind of perceived sexual harassment, sexual assault. Hopefully, I don't even see how that can happen. This class is mostly online, but anything like that, I gotta jump on that right away if I see it. I also have to let people know if I even hear about it. Right. So if you mention that a thing happened to you, I have to let our Title IX personnel know that this has happened, and I just have to let them know. And I'm going to do everything I can to help you in that situation, to make sure you get to all the right people at all the right time. I also have to this is a new thing in Title IX, so you might not have heard of it yet. If you mention to me that you are pregnant, that you're going to have a baby, there's just a thing I have to do. I have to tell you what services are available. That's something I have to do. But for the most part, I'm going to refer everything that I hear about to the Title IX reporter. You have to know I am a mandatory reporter. You cannot say things to any WNMU professor in confidence with regard to um, sexual assault, discrimination, anything like that. If you say it, I have to escalate it, and then you decide what to do with it. Title IX will get back in touch with you and say, "Well, you said this happened. Do you want to do anything about it?" And that's totally up to you. Nobody's going to force you to do anything about it, but they'll force me to tell them that it happened. Accessibility is also really about discrimination. We all have different abilities to do different things. So sometimes people are blind and they can't read. Sometimes people have other different struggles. I have diagnoses, and those I've turned them into our uh, appropriate parties and human resources. You need to turn any of that stuff into disability services. Even if you don't think you need any kind of accommodation, that's fine. You still have to let them know in case you need an accommodation in the future. So, like, I've let HR know that I've been diagnosed with attention deficit disorder and one other thing that kind of affects my thinking. And I also have diabetes, and they know that. And because they know that, if I don't need any accommodations for any of that, I can do my job without any accommodations. I didn't even know about some of the stuff that's kind of permanent until I was like almost 50. So, I did okay without any accommodation. You can too. You don't have to, but you do need to let them know if there's anything that you have where maybe someday they'll need to accommodate you, or if you ever do need accommodations in the future, you can adjust to it. Also, you let them know if there's any kind of uh, harassment or unfairness based on your needs, on your unique things about you. It's not really, I don't know, I don't like the word disability. I don't know what else to call it though, because honestly, in some cases it's almost a super ability that you can do certain things that other people can't do because there is something different about you. But you still need to make sure all your accommodations are done and appropriate, and that if you need them, that they have a record that you might need them someday. I think if I were to sum up all the policies to this class, it would just be a good person. Now, all of us have areas where we're not good people, and so ultimately, I'd say none of us are probably good people. But try to be a good person. Try to be kind. Don't lie, cheat, steal. Try and follow the laws. Do good work, and those are mostly the policies. So let's get into the assignments. So there are really only just a few assignments for the course overall. One of the things is the discussion boards. And these are a little different if you're taking the course face to face or online. So if you're face to face, come talk to me face to face and we'll talk about what's a little different. If you're online, basically there are 10 discussions that I want us to have over the course of the semester. And the way we're going to do that is there's discussion questions in the textbook, and you'll be able to choose one. But if you choose one that somebody else has already chosen, you can't choose that one until all of them are chosen, and then you can until all of them are chosen twice, and then finally you can choose any one you want. So that's how we're going to do it. And so you discuss, and then you reply. I think 2 times is what I put on the discussion board. So that's my plan is for our discussion boards. Now we have what looks like, if you look at the syllabus, like 4 or 5 papers in this class. The truth is there are two, and then a way that we're going to kind of combine the two. So the first thing you're going to need to do is do a paper on a rhetorical speech. So what I want you to do is choose a politician, clergyman, clergy person, teacher, coach, or other orators, just somebody who gives speeches, right? And choose one speech that person has given to which you have access. So what do I mean by you have access? You're going to need this all semester. You're going to need the speech all semester. So maybe you went to church this Sunday and the preacher gave a really good speech, and you'd like to use that, but there's no recording of it or anything. So it's not going to work. I'm sorry. So it has to be something where you can get a recording, where you can kind of use it all semester, because we're going to use it for a different thing later. And it has to be a speech where somebody's trying to persuade somebody through the speech. It can't be like a speech where you're just giving information. I think like the State of the Unions that most presidents have given, they're not trying to persuade anybody of anything really. They're just talking through what policies they have been successful at this year and what they would like to do over the course of the next year. That's not really persuading anyone. A Speeches I want you to do are trying to move somebody. Now you can have speeches where people are trying to persuade others that certain things are true. So that's kind of an informational speech, but it's still trying to persuade someone, or that certain information is useful. That's still trying to persuade someone. So those are fine. So I want you to take a look at that speech. I want you to study some things about it. And here's what I want you to study. I want you to research the biography of the orator just a little bit. Try and find out what led the person to a situation where they could end up giving that speech. I want you to research the occasion. Why was that speech given? What was going on in the world that led to that speech? What were people's opinions before the speech? And then I want you to summarize the speech. I want you to tell me, I want you to, in your research, figure out what the speech's thesis is, what evidence there is to support the thesis, and what emotional appeals were used. Then I want you to research the effects of the speech. What have other people maybe written about the speech? What was the immediate reaction? Maybe you can find news articles or something about that. And what have the long term effects of the speech been? So you do all that research, then you write the paper. And so when you write your paper, I want you to develop a thesis of your own regarding the speech. So don't tell me in your thesis, the speech's thesis. I want your thesis, and what you would like to prove regarding this speech. This speech was good. Okay, you need to prove it. This speech is one of the best speeches ever given. Okay, you need to prove that. Uh, so you write an introduction that states your thesis and outlines your main points. You then write a body that proves your thesis while meeting all of the requirements up that I put up above. So showing that you are proof the thesis, well, you show all the stuff about biography, occasion, summary, and effects. You need to use citations from your research to prove these points, and you need to at least have 5 sources for this paper. And you need to create an APA style reference page. So after you've written the speech, I still don't want you to quite turn it into me yet. I want you to go through and polish it. And I want to make sure that everything works right. It's supposed to be about 5 pages. So I say 1,200 to 1,500 words. Um, this is pretty short, and it might be really, really hard to get everything that you need to in that short of time, but you need to do that. I want you to make sure that you're within the word limit. I want you to make sure that your citation is correct in APA. I want you to double check your reference page. I have failed so many people over the course of my career who the reason they failed an assignment is they didn't alphabetize their reference page. And I don't want to do that to you, but I will. Double and triple check your grammar. Make sure that this is academic English, not colloquial English, not the English we speak, but the English in which academic papers are written. That's what you need to make sure of. So you move any like contractions, anytime where you like use the general he did the, well, did he do that or do people do that, right? So sometimes when in our everyday speech we use a general he, which is not gender appropriate, but it's something we do. Make sure you take all that stuff out, and then you submit the paper to me. And so I've got that due on February 5th, so it's coming right up. Your second paper is a rhetorical theory paper. So what you're going to do is you're going to choose one of the rhetorical thinkers to which your textbook referred. It doesn't necessarily have to be one you've already gotten to. It can also be one we're going to get to. It doesn't really matter, but one of the concepts, you kind of get one of the concepts from that thinker. The example I give is that maybe you could use Aristotle's concept of invention and say you're going to study that. So you do a little biography, you find out a little bit about the person who came up with the concept. You look at the occasion, what was going on in the world in which the concept was shared. You look at and you try and explain then what the concept is, and you look at the effects. Is that still a concept that's commonly taught? What are situations in which it's taught and used? So you do all that as research, then you write the paper. Right. And so in the thesis, so in the paper, you have to write a thesis. You need to prove something regarding that concept. Um, you have to write an introduction that states your thesis, outlines your points, use citations, use proper APA, and then again, before you send it to me, polish it. Now, I didn't mention this on the last one, but it's true on the last one too. Get it to the writing center if you can. They will help you polish it. It's a great idea to do that. But make sure everything works. It's proper APA. Your reference pages are all right. Double and triple check your grammar and then submit it to me. And the due date for that is going to be February 26th. That doesn't sound right. No, that is right. That is right, because it's just 2 weeks after the other one. So you do those two, one after the other. Okay. So it's your third paper I'm super excited about right now because of some things we're going to do with it. But this is your abstract. So it's short. It's only going to be 150 words. But in 150 words, what I want you to tell me is how the speech that you looked at earlier in the semester could be analyzed using this theory. So that's basically the abstract. So I want you to write that in 150 words, polish it, get it nice, then you submit it, and we can submit it up to 3 times. So the first time you submit it to me on Canvas. Secondly, you are required to submit your abstract as either a live presentation or as a video recorded presentation that you'll eventually give to the Academic Research Symposium. There's some kind of instructions both on my page and on the symposium page on Canvas, so go ahead and look at that. Then there's a third time that maybe you can do it. In fact, I want you to tell me in your abstract whether you want me to do this or not. But if I can have at least 4 of you who say that you think that you're doing okay, that you think this could be a really good project for you, we're also going to then submit your abstract to the public address division of the National Communication Association. Now, the reason I don't think all of you will do that is if it is accepted to the National Communication Association and if we can get funding for it. So here's the thing. WNMU pays for students to present their research at academic conferences, right? They do that. They pay for flights, they pay for conference fees, they pay for hotels, they pay for food while you're there. This is something WNMU does. But if we're going to submit it to the conference, you have to agree with me that you're going to go, because this is a legitimate academic conference, meaning there is no online way of doing it. It's real. It's not one of those fake little, well, maybe we can go on. No, you have to physically go to Denver, Colorado in November, right? So that's months away from when we submit it. So it'll be next year, right? So if you don't think that you can commit to that, then just tell me, don't even consider mine for doing this. But if I can have at least 4 of you do it, I will submit it. Now, it might also not get accepted. That's a possibility. In fact, it's a likelihood. It's a competitive thing. You know, some of you know I like to do these, and my students haven't gotten accepted, and that's okay. That's okay. But we're still going to try and submit it. If I can get at least 4 of you, if I can get 8 of you, we'll submit 2 different panels. So that's what we're going to try and do. Like I said, that last one isn't required. You'll just let me know if you want to do it. So that abstract that you write, you're actually going to have to write the paper. And there's 2 parts to this. One thing is you're going to present your paper at the Academic Research Symposium at WNMU. Now, like I said, you can do this as an online thing because it's just WNMU's symposium. You can put it in through there, or you can do it face to face. Either one, but you've got to present at the Academic Research Symposium. And last, but certainly not least, you've actually got to turn the paper into me. So you upload it through Canvas. Now, this isn't going to just be a process of putting the 2 papers together to combine the papers. You're going to have to rewrite the paper so that it is coherent as a single paper. I also want you, if you made a grammatical mistake in the first one and you just copy that grammatical mistake over into the new one, or you make some kind of error, or I tell you, you're wrong about this, and you just keep doing it into the second one, then I'm probably going to fully fail you because I want you to rewrite the paper. I want you to polish the paper, make sure everything's great as far as APA, academic writing, all of that, and then you submit it to me. And that's basically the whole class. If we can do those things, we will have done a class, the rhetoric of Western thought, or communication and thought, or rhetorical theory. I call it communication and thought here. So I hope we have a good semester.